Hi everyone, good morning from beautiful Vienna. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Making It in Austria. I'm your host, Adela, and it's a beautiful Sunday morning. Is it Sunday or Saturday? It's a Saturday morning.
Yes.
True. It's Saturday morning, and I couldn't be more happier than welcome Kristina Jovanovska to this episode. Welcome, Kristina.
Thank you very much, Adela. Happy to be part of your program.
Thank you for joining us over the weekends. As we were chatting before we started recording, I said it would be really, really nice to have you to wrap up this year, to hear a little bit about your way to Austria, so what brought you to Austria, what you're doing, and of course about all the exciting projects that you're doing in a sphere of cybersecurity, and especially with Women4 Cybersecurity that you have co-founded and launched recently. So I'm really excited. I don't know much about your story, so this is going to be also preview for me as well. So welcome, and let's start with your brief introduction. So who's Kristina?
Yeah. Thank you very much. As I said, very, very happy to be here. I have followed a couple of videos so far, and you always have like really impressive guests that have a lot of hats, and it's really a pleasure and honor to be part of it. A little bit about myself. So my name is Kristina Jovanovska. If you live in Austria, you pretty quickly get used to your surname being pronounced different, which is in my case then Jovanovska, and I even myself say it this way. It's easier if you need to say it via the phone or make a reservation. About me, I work in the area of cyber defense. More specifically, I'm leading the managed security services in this DACH region, so for Switzerland, Germany, and Austria at Avanade. As you mentioned recently, together with 5 amazing women, we founded Women4Cyber in Austria, which is organization very much focusing on attracting women to pursue career in cyber, regardless whether it's right after studies or later in their career and they're considering of doing a switch. We can definitely go a bit more into details later. Otherwise, regarding myself, I come from technical background, so I studied computer science with focus on data science and IT security. That's actually also what brought me to Austria. So I studied at TU Graz. Originally, I come from Skopje, so from N.Macedonia. And yes, I initially moved to Graz, and then after that to Vienna, where I live at the moment.
So I'm curious about your job, because I know a few women. So we have some mutual contacts like Stephanie, who we say, hi, Stephanie, if you're watching.
Hi.
That do what you do, right? And so how did you came to this field? So what have you thought as a kid, like this, as a child, so what you want to be? Or you had some, role models or some women or some men around you that were doing this, and it's like, oh, okay, I really find it quite interesting, or you self-taught yourself. So how was your way in this field? Because I think, so I believe that our personal stories are very important for, when you're building an organization like yourself, so that people will get attracted, especially women will get attracted to your story and say, aha, because I also, when I look to my career, I also did a lot of things that I took from other people that were surrounding me. I said, oh, okay, that's quite interesting. Maybe I would try that as well.
Yes, so I can't say I knew from the very beginning, oh, I definitely want to go into cyber and I definitely want to go to IT security. So that was not right away the case. I could in school see that I did like mathematics. I did enjoy that very much. And that was something that was like kind of guiding me towards choosing which gymnasium I would be part of. The one where I was part of, we really had very, I would say, a lot of subjects that kind of prepare you for technical studies, such as really around 10 hours per week of mathematics with 3 different professors. And this was all something that was always exciting for me. It was interesting, but as I said, it was not very clear where I was leading. And then I was, at some point I had to think, okay, well, what will then be for university? What's the next step? And I found very interesting at that time telecommunication and information engineering. So that was my bachelor. And there we were studying different aspects of telecommunication. And I especially found the network security the most interesting part. And somehow I did not have enough of that area in the studies because I was the most interested in that. From there, it came the idea to continue deeper in IT security. So at TU Graz, they offer like 12 catalogs in computer science, from which you can choose 2 to be your major. And for me, that was then data science and IT security, and I liked them. I liked them both very much. And even at that time, was still not sure what I will work after that. Will I then do more data science things, or will I then more go deeper into cyber topics? And in my last semester, one of my professors suggested that because cryptography interests me really a lot and I was very passionate about it, it's also because it's slightly related to a lot of mathematics. He said, don't you think it's a good idea that you go one semester to KU Leuven in Belgium, because they're like very famous for cryptography. The professor who invented ICE was teaching there, Vincent. Then I did that. And after that, I thought, yes, cryptography is my thing. But it's not so easy to really find a job that it's necessarily related with cryptography. And then it was so clear it will be cyber, but maybe not clear in which topic. And with the time, then I found what my preferred love topic is. But it was a journey, I would say. It was not right away known what it is about. I think you touched on important points like role model examples. That's something that for sure then influences a lot. What I have to say I was never aware of until I moved to Austria is how that is back in Macedonia normal to pursue a technical career, and how it's less common here. I think that is something where we are really advanced. I think it's also generally in Balkan that we are way more advanced in that part. And we are not even aware of it, because I remember when I started my bachelor, we were around 80 people. And I don't know whether it was exactly 50-50%, but it was really like, I don't know, 37 girls and 3 guys. So it was really somehow, I don't know, nothing special to be part of technical university. And when I came to Austria, I remember my first class, it was insanely big amphitheater. We were something more than 100 people, and we were exactly 4 girls. So then you do notice it, yes. Then you're like, what's this? And that was for me a big shock. And then with the time, how I was meeting girls that are doing something else, I was always asking like, hey, didn't you ever consider technical university? Not because that's the best thing and that like it's something that anybody should do, but I was just interested where this difference comes from. And many of them said that they were very much discouraged during their school years, and that there was a teacher that said, oh, mathematics, forget about it, it's nothing for you. And then I was thinking, hey, it has never, ever happened to me. And I did not have one teacher. We have had so many mathematics teachers, because that was kind of something that we were focusing on. And they never gave us the feeling of, hey, this might be something that it's not for you. So I became way more grateful to my teachers after I moved to Austria, and I realized that that's not given, and that that's something that they have done right. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because that was something that along the line I wanted to ask you, if anyone ever told you like mathematics is not for you. And this is one of the things as well. So we have a common path. So I also studied telecommunication master and bachelor and master, and I have been very good in mathematics, and I have been the best in gymnasium, and I could choose what I want to study and so on and so forth. And I of course went to study what my brother was studying, because older brother, sister, so there's a lot of that. So I wanted, and of course I wanted to be better than him, so that there was always a competition between us, and I made it. So, but he opened many doors for me before that. So because we come from a small village, northern western part of Bosnia, so I had to move to Sarajevo, to the capital, to study over there. So it was a big transition, coming from a small place, small city, leaving a family behind, and going there and living on my own, and meeting 300 people that started study with me. So I was very much overwhelmed. So not just on the content, because of course we had many students that were coming from the electrical background. So this so they knew a lot more than us who've been in gymnasium. So they had kind of advantage. And I was like struggling with that at the moment. And like, okay, but they understand these electrical circuits and I don't understand it at all. So they had like 3 years or 4 years studying that. So they had the lab, they worked there. So for me, it was like a completely new world. But as you say, there's like this thing that we pick up through our school, like, that you like to learn, that you like to study, that you have found your ways, how do you understand complex things, when you see them for the first time. And really, when we now reflect, and I think reflection is what's very important through our life, where we said, none of the teachers ever told us, like, you're not good for mathematics. So that was not in the vocabulary. There was, but I don't think it's now. And then when you hear like young girls with just starting gymnasium, or like by 10 when they're 10 years old, they get already discouraged and said like, and I don't know where this comes from. So I really struggle to think, so how do our teachers here, who should be, our role models, I was always in love with, our teachers, like, they were like, paramount for us. They say these things. It's really hard for me to grasp on where this come from. And the other thing I wanted to ask you out of curiosity, so because we were like talking about what you want to be when you grow up, for instance, what did your parents wanted for you to be when you grow up? Because my father wanted me to be a lawyer, because I was just talking and I was like always I always had a reply. So whatever he would say, I had a reply. So he said, like, you have to be a lawyer. I was like, always talking, always fighting for something, middle child,
That is interesting. I think they did not have particular view on what I should do. And they were very often being also reserved on putting their ideas on me. I do remember at some point that my father did mention that, hey, maybe it would be nice that you like study the same as your mother. And my mother is speech pathologist. So at that time, their studies were slightly different. So they were doing regular medicine and then some speech pathologist things. Now it's very specified, the studies at this time. But I never could see myself in anything related to medicine, so I was not considering it. But it was also just kind of mentioned on the way. It was never something that they really wanted me to do. They were quite surprised when I chose the gymnasium that I choose. That was of my choice, because it's really very much, as I said, focused on going to technical field and focused on hardcore mathematics, and it's kind of known to be slightly more difficult and does the best Abitur, or in Austrian Matura in the country. So they were surprised by my choice, and they were like, oh, do you really want to do that? Not in a discouraging way, but like, are you aware what that means? And when I said, no, I will do this, it was always more like they were asking me what am I going to do, and somehow I was then going my way. It was the same later. So like when I finished my bachelor, then the bachelor in Macedonia are 4 years, and after that normally people start working and they do their master like next to it. And there were really a lot of opportunities, and also at that time my parents thought that I will find a job and I will start already with that. And then I decided to move to Austria and like continue studying. That was also surprising for them, and maybe not necessarily what they would do, but they were never pushing their opinion on me, and I'm very grateful for that, because I think at the moment they're very happy where I am and they're very happy of what I have achieved. but like when you are taking the journey, it's not always clear how that will end up and where you're leading. And I am grateful for that support. But yeah, as I said, they left it pretty blank for me what I will be. So it was never too much expectations from my side.
But you're right as well, because the jobs that you and I are doing, we're not able to be managed by our parents, you know, and especially not just by our parents, but experts around the world. Because think about, you know, if I have to give an advice to my daughter who is turning 2 soon, so what is she going to be? It's very unpredictable. So because the job market is so changing, and in 20 years, who knows what is going to be. So it's really, really hard to, you know, give any advice, basically, to say, okay, go there or go there. So because it's really the only thing that we can do as well is just try what you were doing, basically, to try to find that thing that you really love, you know. And as parents, we can only just, you know, kind of, you know, help you around. For instance, our daughter loves music nowadays. She loves music, and they have a piano in the kindergarten. So what we naturally do, we buy, you know, music books, and we take her to music places. You know, it's just what we can do. So it's not like, okay, I imagine a career for her, and this is what she could do or should not, but it's like, okay, she loves that, so we go naturally over there, and then through the years we will see what else she's curious about, and then we encourage these kind of things. But it's really hard to say, look, in 20 years what is going to be, or in 5 years, you know. It's like there's so much what you're doing nowadays, it couldn't be imagined by none of us, you know. Also, people, when I was studying, basically, I didn't know what I'm going to do, right? Because it was like so much that and when you do the technical studies also back then, it was like, oh, you can do anything you want. But yes, that's really pretty also general, but what am I going to do, you know? And nowadays, I remember one 11 years old girl from a friend asked me what I do. So what is that I do daily? And I said, I talk to many people from all around the world. I talk to people from all around the world, and I tell them what we have. So I tell them about our products and services and so on. And her follow-up question was, she's an Austrian, so she lives in Austria, and her mom is Bosnian. And her follow-up question was, are you a prime minister? It's like, no. Because it was like talking to people all around the world and telling what we have. And so that it's really, you know, hard to explain. So what we do and how we do and so on. But other question that I wanted to ask you, have your parents, do they have a university degree?
They do. Yeah.
They do. Okay.
Both of them have PhD. Yes.
Okay. So because my parents never studied, so my parents, you know, so I have it's 5 of us, so they never studied. They didn't even go to high school. So my father finished it later. So for me, it was also kind of, you know, coming from a small place, so it's not like a capital, so where you have the access, you know, to university, to the library, because we had a really kind of very, very small library in the city center, so that had a couple of books, and that was before the internet, so you couldn't really explore things that you wanted to explore. You had a very, very limited access to things. And for me, it's like really, you know, I sometimes think about, you know, my father thinking for me to be a lawyer, you know, when he never studied, and we never had any lawyers around us. So it's also like, you know, parents know
a lot
of
expectations.
Yeah. But it's good to know that he imagined something bigger and way bigger.
Yes.
Exactly. So friend, never seen anyone like that around, you know. It's like, it's like super interesting to think what life has for us and like what happened along the way. So there are some traces that we can. So how do you like it? Go.
Both of them are like very ambitious in their direction, and they love what they do, and they're very focused on what they do. And I think that's maybe something I have learned, that you really need to love what you do to be so passionate about it so many years after you work. Because now often my mother says, oh, I don't like it that you work so much, but like she herself works sometimes 12 hours per day, and that's normal for her. So I really like that they like their jobs so much, and I think I have learned that that's also a key thing. And as you said, we can be guided a little bit from parents, like from experience perspective, what would maybe make sense. But even if it's the best paid job at the moment, if that's something that you don't love to do, then it will always feel like a job. And my job does not feel like a job, because if it does feel, you cannot do that tempo and you cannot do that dynamic and that amount of hours. And if it's really something you're passionate about, you don't even feel the hours passing by, because like you just love what you do, gives you energy, and it also kind of makes you successful because you're really dedicated to it. So
true. You then go and find your own ways and your own scripts. So it's not, especially as we said nowadays, it's really every job and every project is different. It's not like it's really hard to find a script. It's really hard to generalize things, the things that work for one customer. And I'm also in a customer facing role, and used to work many pre-sales and technical roles before, and work for the whole European market. It's like really hard to pinpoint, okay, this is what, there are some general guidelines and how you do things, but in all, it's always about the customer, what they need, what they want, how do they see, how they want to achieve it, in the internal structure, their way and readiness to, change and accept new things. It's really, it's really hard to give a general advice, it's like, okay, this is how you do it, because it's really exploration. And as you said, it's kind of journey with the customer. You go and you sit together. Basically, it's like that. And that's why I said, like, I sit and talk to the customers, because it's not like I give them the instruction and say, this is what you do. It's like more sitting and thinking, okay, what do we want to achieve in the coming years, and what needs to be done, and how we can support one another, and so on. Kristina, so that's really really great journey. So what you have so far, and I'm really excited to see what comes for you in the coming years. And one of the things that has came in between, so it was this Women4Cyber organization that you have co-founded. So how did you came to put this together? So you've been saying you met some ladies, of course, you meet some women along the way, you exchange, you connect on LinkedIn, but setting an organization and having a clear structure and who leads and what you want to achieve and setting the goals and so on, it's a next level. So basically that's what I've been doing in a few different organizations. And I'm really happy for you that you're going to do that, because for me, it was a very strong personal growth. So because joining one of those organizations and building them up was my way to explore other sides of myself that I could not see that I can do in my regular job. So I was like, okay, working with people from different backgrounds, working with people from different nations, working voluntarily, because that was all of the work was voluntarily. So how do you, inspire other people? So how that you continue doing work, what's need to be done, and so on. So tell me, so what was your intention? What was your guidelines? What motivated you to start it?
There were two things. So one was that I think I saw a lot of organizations having the goal to spread the awareness of the gender inequality generally in IT, and then also that is definitely reflected in the cyber area as well. Then I definitely think that spreading the awareness and making people really aware of these facts of how bad that is divided, it's the first step to go. But I somehow missed that there is a concrete actions to change this. Second was there were a lot of organizations that were focusing generally on women in tech and women in IT, and that is also something I'm interested in, but I had the feeling that it does not 100% apply to, I don't want to say to my situation, but somehow to the field where I'm working, because I also saw that we started getting more and more women in IT, but not necessarily in cyber. And I thought that already a bit is different, even though we try to gain the same goal, it's still at the end of the route, somehow it splits into two roads. So that were the two things that were my personal motivation, where I thought, okay, I would like to do something really to do some actions that we change this, that we give real chances to women to try it out in cyber. because I just thought that for many of them, it's unimaginable. For many of them, they don't understand what they would do in this area. Sounds scary, sounds maybe like some super hardcore programmer that they never want to be. And I just wanted to do something in this direction. Then I was researching what is available, and then I did come to the Women4Cyber as a foundation that is formed in Brussels. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting and really fits with what my personal goals are. And then I was looking whether that is already formed in Austria, and I saw that that's not the case. So then I reached out to basically their board in Brussels, and then I said, yeah, I would really like to take this initiative in Austria. And then they said, oh, that are good news. And there are actually also a few other women that contacted us for the same. Could you then maybe meet with each other and see whether you can make this work? And we met, and since the day we met, we worked together like we have worked somehow always together. It's the energy between us, it's also amazing, because each of us focuses on or likes different piece of it, and then it's a very easy way to form a whole. What the organization does more concretely, so it has several different aspects. So one of them is really focusing on upskilling. This targets two different groups. So one is really, as we mentioned before, to do something in schools where in a very early age we address this, whether it is some way in a playful way, just to make the possibility clear that it's there, to get the interest very early. Because many studies show that this is really, really relevant in which way girls will go later in their life. That's something research-wise I focused a lot during my master thesis. And second target group for upskilling with Women4Cyber are women that already do have career, that do either something in different IT parts, so whether they are software developers or they do something completely different in IT, or they even come completely from non-IT background, but would like to do this step towards career in cyber. And here, of course, the upskilling is slightly different, or like it's planned to be different, because it is then more tailored to like get you in overview of several topics, where then we can do deep dive, and where then potentially there could be something out of it. And there are plenty of programs in Austria. It's really a lot of opportunities that you can start. Even at Avanade, where I work, we do have like 3 months of kind of cyber academy, where people are paid normal salary, and they are kind of taking a lot of trainings. And after the 3 months, both the person and the company needs to decide whether this can move forward. And I find that as an amazing opportunity, because it's nothing to lose. It's a way to get taste how it is. It does not also necessarily have to be the right thing for every woman, but for me, it's important that we know about this as an option, that we know that, hey, I can give it a try, and I can aim higher maybe, and also believe what I can do, and then it maybe works. Maybe they realize that's nothing for them. So that is the upskilling is really the part that we will focus a lot on. Second very important part of the organization will be the mentoring program. So Women4Cyber has international mentoring program, but we also plan to do a national one in Austria. The idea is that both men and women participate in mentoring women, because we were looking into the statistics. So it's really just 1% women that are in cyber in Austria and 11 in Europe. So it's a bit of also scary and shocking, I would say. And we can't rely only on women to mentor women. So this is very important to highlight how important the role of men is also to get this gender equality. And our idea is to really guide female talents and to really give them the chance for self-development in a mentored program. So this will be kicked off somewhere in end of February, March next year. Basically there is planned activities starting from January for each of the streams. Finally, the organization is also meant to enable people to get into cyber networking. So really that's like you can get to know cyber experts on one hand, to also be able to hear about topics that interest you from first hand, and on the other hand also for opportunities. So we plan to really give that platform to enable that for everybody. And finally, there will be kind of job corner where all of the companies in Austria will be able to share job postings that are with cyber background, and that will be also available for our members to like see what's available on the market, and also maybe to encourage them to give it a try and start such a job. So that are our main focuses, or what we are trying to achieve to really give a woman a chance for a cyber career.
That's great, Kristina. That's really great, and I wish you a lot of success and patience and many hours. I know you ladies will succeed it, and if you need any help from anyone within the Making It in Austria or from myself, so I'm really happy to support you along the way. So everything that you said yourself was very crucial for my career as well, as the mentoring. So I'm a big fan of it, and I mentor many women globally as well. And as you said, the role of man is crucial as well. So we can, and I've been as well lucky enough through my career that I had men support along the way. And as you said, we come from, I come from Bosnia, and it was very normal to have, 50-50 colleagues, men and women. So actually telecommunication, it was more women than men. But on the other hand as well, so it's not everything so shiny and bright. So if you look now that I'm a little bit longer outside of the country, and then I educated myself as well on this topic, so it's really important. So I just want to say this thing. So what you mentioned and what you and I experience is also a lot of what we have taught ourselves. So it's very much a lot of self-initiatives. So these are the things. So I as yourself invested hours and hours after work to get to know the network, for instance, in Austria. So to get to know the opportunities out there, to get to understand the job market, to get to understand the future, the career opportunities, and so on. So it's really a lot of initiatives. So for everyone watching this, so if you want to progress in your career, it's not going to fall from the sky. So even though if we are we can be the smartest in the room, or it's like, okay, yeah, it should be me, but it's not happening. So for me, it was a lot of going out and meeting people and listening to their stories, listening to their how did they build their career, so what helped them, and so on, and really trying to find my puzzle. And that was a lot of hours after work. Yeah. So it wasn't like, okay, I do my job, great, and everything happens. Things fall into places. They did eventually later on. So when I basically got the big picture, the understanding, so where I am, so what could be possibly interesting for me, then kind of I started attracting people, so coming to me and saying, okay, my managers, or their managers saying, I would like to mentor you, so because I have some experience and I see you have talent, and so on. But somehow it has firstly always come from us. Yes. Where you say, okay, I like where I am, it's good, it's comfortable, I know what I'm doing, but I want more. And then when you start thinking I want more, then you start, you put yourself out there. So like your mind and brain and soul and heart, everything starts, thinking about, okay, what's out there. Then you start, Googling and searching and finding people and going out, meeting and so on. And then you basically start attracting people out there. So I want to say that like a lot of something that our future is not written. So it's like a lot of things that we have to do, and initiatives like yours and many initiatives out there are the way forward. So nobody knows what it's going to be in 5 years. We all put numbers and we all have nice visions and mission, but it's way forward. And the way we, kind of support one another and share, it's crucial. It's crucial for all of us, and to see what's out there, what's happening. And I wanted to say just one thing for Bosnia. Even though you have so many women around you sitting and studying, and nobody said technology is not for you, but at the end of the day, men are the ones leading the countries. Men are the ones leading the universities. Men are the ones who are putting the program in place. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of to be done. So it's like, I want to say there's a lot to be done from where we come to, because there's like opportunities. You see like many women, but then 10 years later, you see none of these women progressed in professor, or none of these are leading the university, or not leading the country, and so on. So there's a lot of things that we have to do in where we also come from, so that it doesn't look like, okay, in Austria is this, there's everywhere. Exactly, everywhere you look, there's like ways to improvement. And I think if we put our heads together, there's like a lot of things happening. That's
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to re-emphasize what you said, that it's very important to have self-initiative, and that I find very, very important, also related to the mentoring part, because I think it's very difficult to expect that people will come to us and they will push their feedback or their mentoring on us. I think it's really in our own hands and in our own responsibility to create the platform that people can feel free to give us that feedback. I have personally found very useful that I always asked for mentoring and coaching somebody also outside of my project. So obviously that's still person of the same organization, but it has no direct view on my work, where like I would have to retell that like to an outsider. And then I have often gotten very, very good advice, because I think if you think, my project is going good, promotions are coming rather quick and everything is great, then you very easily can start thinking that what you do makes sense and it's all perfect. But if you really want to learn, and if you really want to create better version of you, you do need that outside view where they help you reflect. And that has been very, very valuable for me until now. And I still try to always create that platform that somebody does that mentoring and coaching. And I try to also give it back to younger colleagues. But I really think it's in everybody's hand, and it's super crucial to reflect on some things, because often we are like just in our own system and machine, and we don't realize like, oh, maybe I have come across like this, and maybe I have done that. And especially when working with people, we have even a lot more responsibility, because things that we say, they do have impact, they do influence the decision of what people do next, as we see now with the teachers in school, that they never think they will have impact of somebody's career. But I think at some point people are very sensitive in their life, and that happens in different stages. And then we can really be the push or the inspiration in the right direction if we do it right. So I think it's important, but I just wanted to re-emphasize that you said, it's self-initiative and mentoring, even though it sounds like it's coming from somewhere, it also has to be self-initiated.
Exactly. So we can find mentor on our own. So it doesn't have to be, people ask me, I say it can be the official programs you have, but you also, if you have someone within your organization, as you said, or I don't know, you met someone at the event and they have a really good story and you want to connect with them and ask them to be your mentor, why not? It can be, it's very personal, as you said, like mentoring is not like, I give you hundreds of questions and you go home and you do it and we see each other in a month. So it's very, step by step, and then basically just like kind of opening the next doors, and like with this chocolate advent calendar. So it's like open the next one and the next one and the next one, and then you somehow feel okay, it's one picture nicely. Kristina, thank you so much. I believe we could talk for hours. It was really, really a great pleasure to talk to you and hear about your inspirations, about your way. And I know you mentioned that you are grateful for your parents, and I hope they are proud. I know they are proud. So if they watch this, so they have a great daughter and a great inspiration for us all. They've done really good along the way. Before we wrap up, I ask all of my guests what they're reading. Is there any book or books that they would like to recommend? It's end of the year, so probably people are like doing their list like the Bill Gates, like the next year or Christmas or New Year's Eve, what I want to read. So what is your favorite?
Favorite, that is difficult. I can say that one of the last books I read was Linin from Cheryl.
Nice.
And I very much liked it, but I have also heard others that read it that were not as inspired as me. So I will just say, I think it's very much worth reading it if you can somehow relate to her story. So if you're a woman who works in a very much man-dominated world, where you need to deal and with situations and things that are not so common for men, then like there are plenty of situations that you can relate to, especially if you're in some leading position, whether you're leading a team or whether you're in leadership of your organization. I think you can relate to really a lot of things that you need to take care of as a woman, which is a sad story, but I think she gives a nice flavor on the situations I have been through. So I felt like, wow, I could very much relate to it, and that was really nice. At the moment, I'm reading the 7 Habits of the Most Effective People. I am halfway, so I can't say how the full thing will be, but it's a quite famous book and quite old one. I think it's written 20, 30 years ago. I find it also quite good. And maybe 2 more. One was a very, very small one. It's called Weekend Language. It's for people who are interested into storytelling. We got it as part of, we got it suggested as part of a consulting leadership program. And I found it also very nice because it basically, the bottom line is that how if you try to think about your weekends and how you tell your usual stories, how much more catchy they are than when you are sitting at work and trying to present your product and what you do, and when people are like, what are you actually doing? So like they try to make this that you mirror that in your work, and that you tell stories that stick better. And finally, maybe
yeah.
for the ones that do move to a different country and so on. So it's unfortunately written in Macedonian. So yeah, like I think just maybe the people from Balkan that listen to this could read that one. It's called See You at the Top, or in Macedonian Se gledame na vrhot. It's from Costa Petrov. I find that one very good if you're just 1 or 2 years already abroad, and it helps you very much reflect on what you do. He writes about his way to success, and his way of how he was doing his studies in Prague, and what things he was struggling with.
Yeah.
And there is also a lot of things one could reflect on. So it's less of a self-development, it's more of a Roman kind of book. So it's really just a story. It's not like the rest 2 that I mentioned. But I found it really nice, and it helped me also understand my actions better when I moved to a new country.
Thank you. I noted the weekends, right? The book. I'll definitely check that one. And regarding the book from Cheryl, The Lean In, I read it years back, and 2016, 17. So it was one of the first books I read, and then I said, okay, something's not right, because, like, where are the women around me? So what is happening? So that was one of the, and I read it in Croatia on a beach in Istria, and I was like, and I read it at once, this.
Me too.
Exactly. It's like, we go through it, and I was like, okay, what is happening? So where am I? So because then at that point I was like, okay, I'm doing nicely. We moved to Austria, so we have jobs, we have security, we bought the car, and I'm doing nicely in my job. It's all nice and comfy, and and then I was like, wow, so there's a whole another world that I'm missing on it. So I was like, like, what is happening? And then all these things, like what I started doing outside of the company, and then starting to educate myself and read more and join different organizations. So started after that book. And I recently came back to it, I think last year or so, when I became a mom. So because there's also a lot of stories, as you said,
Yes.
it's hard to read, not hard, but when you read a book that not reflects where you are, it's like, lot of imagination, you know. It's like for me reading back then about the kids and like kids getting sick and you have to travel and you know, it's like this was like, okay, I don't need this, I just what's that. But now, you know, when I'm a mom and then you have a meeting and like everything can happen and she got sick last night and then tomorrow you have the presentation, so what do? You know, like, I cannot cancel this, because how do you organize yourself? How do you think? You know, it's like bring your baby to it, or you know, a lot of things where you have to act on the go. Basically, it's not like I'm preparation of months, and that's also our life and our jobs nowadays and everything around us. Like a lot of things that you have to react as they come. You know, you cannot plan everything. But it was a good book to come back. You know, like, okay, yeah, I'm not the only one. And I think that's the thing with all these books. It's like where you feel like, okay, it's talking to me. You know, it's like I'm not the only one. I'm not the weirdo. I'm not crazy. This is happening to other people.
Yes.
And that's with everything, you know. That's what I learned throughout the years, you know, that people open up and then you get other flavors of people outside of the online world. And that's what I would like to also to mention to people listening this: go out and meet people in person, because no one is going to tell you the real story on LinkedIn or on podcasts or in their books and so on. So the real people, you know, the real conversation I got was to open up, and then people usually open up through that, and then you get, you know, like, okay, I do this and I struggle with that, and you feel like, okay, you know, I'm not the only one. And then how did they overcome this, or what did you do? And then I take these little things and try to find it, put it in my own kind of way how it could work for us, and that makes, you know, life much more enriching, I would say. So it doesn't feel like I'm isolated, everyone else has fun, and I'm just good, Kristina. So now we went all away, but you know, it's like what you said, you know, these books, some books, they bring life to it. So like, it's not a paper, it's life. and I just had to share about the Lean In. It's a really, really good book to read. And
I find it very good too. Yes. Yeah. And I can imagine that at some point I'll also reread it, because like she, as you mentioned, she was talking about a lot of things that I could not relate to, like when she was asking Google to have a parking lot for pregnant women so that they are close. I thought, hey, who needs that? But it's because I never was pregnant. So it's
exactly these things you just like never think about it. And that's also good in general. As you said, you're looking for mentors outside of your project, because we have blind spots or that we completely don't realize, like you know, the pregnant spot, like parking place, who needs that, why that? And then now, you know, I need all of this. And when I go to when I go into the public transportation, I was like, if someone is in my spot and that spot is dedicated for, you know, for a stroller, I was like, do you have eyes? This is my spot, you know. Like, imagine if it's not, you know, pointed there. So there's like confusion. It's like, this is my spot. I go there. I need this, or like tons of other things. You know, when you come to the office and you come with the baby and it doesn't feel weird, or nowadays through the corona. I have my baby next to me, and then we have a talk, and then she pressed the button, and I'm out of the conference. I come back and I say, okay, it's the baby, and everybody said, it's fine, it's normal, you know, let's continue where we stop. So, but really, you need these stories to encourage you to try your own ways. Like, okay, yeah, I can do this, because it's little by little, so that we, you know, as we said, you know, the women in workforce and Corona and everything. So, we had a really hard time. So in general, through the Corona, but as well, we having kids at home and having kids with you and working next to it, it can be really, really challenging. But we need these stories to say, okay, it's for everyone. But also, you know, when you have someone next to you, it's like, try to do this, and then she wants to play, and it's nice, it's all good. But sometimes it's like, I need 1 hour to sit and type this down. Otherwise, it just goes beyond. But good, Kristina, thank you so much. I will leave it here. Maybe I start another podcast, Moms.
It's a good idea, I think. Yeah.
Moms who made it, or Moms Daily, because there's so much flavors to it that can be that is about self-development. There's this, believing in yourself and your capabilities, because that's at the end of the day super important, because you say, I managed that yesterday, so how did we do that? Okay. So then you feel like, okay, I'm growing taller, in a way. It's just like when you do projects at work, and it's like, okay, we mastered this and we try this, and what we learned, and everybody's happy. And then it's like you grow taller and you try more different things, and you're like, okay, I can do that, without like saying I'm not going back to work, and I don't want to be part of it, and that's not for me. But you just grow taller, I would say, with every new victory. So I will leave it here. Christina, thank you so much for joining today. And thank you everyone for listening. I will put the Christina's contact over LinkedIn, so underneath this video, so you'll be able to connect with her, follow her journey, get back to her. I really hope that some people will find this interesting and come back to you, or join one of your next sessions that you have, and within the Women4Cyber. I hope I join you ladies as well somewhere next year.
Yes.
After this wintering, so now it's wintering time, like, okay, minimum, and then I hope with the spring we all get to blossom and go out and meet as many people and do many fun things.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Adela, for the invitation. I was happy to be part of it, and I was happy to also meet you in this via this channel. So it was interesting getting to know you while we record.
You see.
But as you said, I hope to have more opportunities next year to meet you in person, and to that you also then join in some of our events or activities with Women4Cyber.
I would love to, and now you have something to say about your weekend. So going back to your book, so when the colleagues ask you what you did for your weekend, I did this and I did that.
Adela made me stand up early and do interviews.
You see,
not my usual Saturday.
So next time when you get the interviews or invitation over the weekend, you're ready. You're like, I've done this already, so we're good to go. We're good to go. Thank you, Kristina, so much. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the weekend and see you soon.